that. Do you ever have one piece of hair like that is in non-consent? There we go. I cannot have it non-consensus. I can't have it. I can't have it. I can't have it. I can't. Hey, you guys. Welcome to Tuesday night. Ask the Advocate. Is it too late to be drinking soda? It is. Come on in. Yes. Okay, I'm joining. Okay, we can hear you guys. We can hear y'all.
I can't hear you.
I can hear y'all in the background.
Can you hear me? Hang on 1 second. So Elena said she couldn't hear me either. But you can hear me. I can't hear you, and I can't hear Karen.
Okay, everybody can hear y'all though. So I'm gonna let Elena start because we're live. Are you ready, Elena?
I'm gonna call you on the phone. Can I call you on the phone and I can't hear you? Don't call me on the phone.
Or I'll just answer questions until y'all.
Yeah, I gotta get to the questions.
Okay, I'm gonna mute y'all and
okay.
Give me a thumbs up when you're ready to questions, and I'll just go through some.
Will do.
Okay, how are you guys? Fantastic. Hey, Karen, Bonnie. I heard that you helped somebody that needed help. Good for you. I mean, you always help people that need help. So I can hear me talking in the background. Do y'all hear that? Okay, we can't. Okay, so.
I'll turn that one down.
Okay. How are you? Give me 2 seconds. Give me 2 seconds. How are you? Give me 2 seconds. Give me 2 seconds. How are you? Give me 2 seconds. Give me 2 seconds. Guess who's back? Back again. I know it does sound like you have a twin. A little Karen goes a long ways. There's nothing worse than hearing your voice. My son just started early childhood. We're just going to answer some questions live while we are working on that stuff. My son has cochlear implants. What would be required for his IEP for starting kindergarten? So, I mean, it depends on the acuity of his hearing loss. You want to make sure that you have an ECC, an expanded core curriculum. So that addresses all 9 areas. You want to make sure that he has a deaf and hard of hearing itinerant teacher if he needs an interpreter. I'm so proud my daughter with a reading disability started as an 8th grade math support teacher. Awesome. Somebody said, is that correct? I didn't get let's see. I'm going to have you guys type in the questions. School has son cleaning 75 minutes a day and no job skills. No. He needs an audiologist for consult for cochlear implants. Yeah, you'd have to have an audiologist on the IEP services. Yes, are you guys already having a fun back to school? Is the school district required to get a lift if you request it to help teachers successfully pick him up? If he needs a lift, then if it's a mechanical lift or 2-person lift, absolutely. And my daughter worships you. Oh, thanks, you guys. Please, I need help. I have an IEP tomorrow, but my 1st grader who tested on the level of about a 3-year-old. So if you're interested in representation, you can just shoot us an email to advocate@specialeducationacademy.com. Director of Special Ed is not shutting down cleaning. Ooh, sounds like you need a press conference, Tiffany. IEP case manager and principal refusing to respond to me about why my son was denied before care. Yeah, so that might be, Madeline, you might need to pull open records. And you might need to call the Director of Special Education. Can we have a GEE and an SEE on the same IEP? I'm not sure exactly what your acronyms mean. Second language learner and gifted? That would be unusual. How do I find out what my son is eating during the day? So I would just ask for if we can get a sheet, if we can log that. Now, certainly it has to be tied to his IEP. Let's see. How do I become an advocate in California? So we train advocates. We have an amazing two-person, maybe it is a 2-person. We have a 2-day intensive that's on our website, specialeducationacademy.com. If they don't have mics for him, I can request it for his hearing. Yeah, he needs the amplification system. Yes, a press conference to notify the community. Yeah, so I do press conferences all over the nation. I just did one in North Carolina. They were the nicest people there. And then a week later, they won their due process, and that's amazing. I have another press conference coming up in Austin. So if you're interested in me coming to where you are and doing a press conference, we have a sheet of requirements, and then we can go over what it takes to get me there. I'll do any press conference, even standing in a ditch. I prefer it not to rain. So if you could just hold up your hand in no rain, that would be fantastic. Are you girls ready before I unmute you, or do you need a little more time? Yes, you need more time? You're ready? Okay, hold on. Maybe I should unmute you. Yeah.
I'm ready.
She's ready. Okay. Da 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 da.
Okay, Miss Karen. What are technical schools, specifically high school CTE schools, required to provide in terms of accommodations? Are they obliged to implement the entirety of a student's IEP? And are they required to follow the mandates set forth by IDEA?
Yeah, so wherever a student goes to school, if it's a public school, they're required to implement the IEP with fidelity. So CTE is going to be career technical. And so whatever those accommodations are applicable in those classes, if that student needs modifications, they certainly have to deliver them with fidelity.
Okay, great. My son has cochlear implants. What will it be required for his IEP for starting kindergarten?
So we've gotten a little further than that. So I would scroll down about 20 questions, Elena, till we get to...
Sorry.
No, it's okay. Till we get to... there's a question, do you think, what's the advocate's role in an IEP from Brownie? If you'll scroll down to that.
Yep.
And I'll...
It's come in the same order.
Oh, so I'll tell you what the advocate's role in an IEP is to support the parent and the team and the school, and to make sure that we write an IEP that is robust, that enables the child to make progress in light of their unique circumstances.
Okay. The director of special education is refusing to get back to me. What should I do?
So I would just email tomorrow and say, this is my second request. And then I would email after lunch and say, this is my third unanswered request. And then after that, I would pick up the phone and call the superintendent.
Okay. If a student has a para for transition only, does the para have to stay in the room once it happens?
So the para minutes, any special ed minutes are indicated by content area and location. So if you're indicating that the para is solely for transition, then they actually wouldn't even come into the classroom.
Okay. Teachers refuse to let my child use multiplication charts even though it's in his 504. Is she allowed?
What? No, you implement the 504. So the 504 is part of the 1973 Rehabilitation Act, and it says anybody in America that's identified with a disability, whether it's in school, college, job, cannot be discriminated against based on their disability, and you cannot deny them their accommodation. So that's a civil rights violation, and it's an Office of Civil Rights complaint if she doesn't comply.
Okay. How long does it take to get trained as an advocate?
So our 2-day intensive is 2 days. That will give you a lifetime of information and a great start to become an advocate. And then we're looking at having an in-person destination mastermind training, which everybody's excited about, that possibility in Orlando. So, but definitely start with the 2-day. It'll make your head hurt. It's amazing.
Do you think it's appropriate for someone who's never taught special education to be a SPED supervisor?
Oh, I'm sorry. That's what we do to our children in Texas. We don't say anything. We just go, what? So it is amazing to me. In Texas, the statute says that you have to have some information about special education, and I can't always find that to be true with some people. But I would assume if you were going to be, I don't know, the athletic director, you might need to know something about athletics. So it's unfortunate that people are in that position and are not qualified.
Good answer. Is it legal to give substitute copies of IEP summaries?
Well, it'd be legal to give them the IEP, right? It'd be legal to give the paras the IEP. It'd be legal to give everybody that implements an educational product for the student with a disability the IEP.
I'm a SPED para in a self-contained classroom in Texas. How can I help my supervising teacher the best?
Support her. Make sure that you're replicating that specially designed instruction, that when she needs you to assist, whether it's with the students or directions or supporting her in implementing the IEP goals and or tracking information, that you do that.
Absolutely. How do I get an advocate located in St. Charles, Missouri?
So our advocates are all located at the end of an Ethernet cord. So I have clients in New Jersey and Miami and Kodiak Islands and in San Diego. So I've been sitting here advocating since Friday the 13th of March 2020, when the pandemic started. And so we're just as effective. We have a team of 10 or a mighty little posse of advocates, and we serve clients from sea to shining sea.
Students are denied having recess if they did not complete accelerated reading testing the next morning. Is that okay?
So it's illegal in Texas. In Texas, there's a statute about rigorous activity for children in elementary school. So we're just going to say, I don't think so. I mean, that would be a press conference. Like, you want kids to have recess. Teachers should want them to have recess. I found out about a child today who's being denied recess because she's behind in reading, and it takes her longer. I'm sorry, she's denied lunch because it takes her longer to do a reading passage, and if she's not finished, she has to eat lunch in the classroom. I think we all know I'm going to handle that this week, don't you? What?
If a student has dyslexia class as a service, but can't find substitute dyslexia teachers, how long can they use a substitute?
They can use a substitute as long as they want, as long as the substitute is able and credentialed to implement the job that she's supposed to do, right? So dyslexia in Texas is special education. So if that substitute just happens to be a special education dyslexia teacher, couldn't be happier. So we're either delivering the special education or we're denying it.
Which state have you had the most complaints from?
Texas. Texas. And I live in Texas. But, you know, we have 605,000 children on IEP. We have 254 counties. And we almost always rank in last place in special education. So, welcome. We do it here bigger and better.
As an advocate, what type of data are you looking for?
I'm looking for data that is going to give me information to properly identify a deficit and then address a skill. So when I'm presenting a puffy, pristine, prescriptive present levels of academic achievement and functional performance, I want information from everybody that teaches that student. I want information on behavioral needs, emotional needs, cognitive needs, functional needs, communicative needs, social needs, physical needs, hearing needs, medical needs, and all of that needs to populate the present levels. If we don't have that in the present levels, we need to reschedule the meeting because there's no point. Most present levels that I get are pitiful. They are pitiful. So we need to be able to pick up the present levels and go, I know exactly who this child is from these descriptions.
Okay. If my son is in speech since he was 11 months old and he is 3 now, why is the school saying he may not qualify?
So that's predetermination. I would say that makes me uncomfortable when you say something like that. So the only way that we know if he qualifies or doesn't qualify for speech and language services is through a formal speech and language evaluation. And after those results, we can talk about his needs.
Can I request my child not have different aids throughout the day?
No. I mean, you can, but we're not in charge of staff, and certainly aides need breaks. We certainly try to build continuity because that's easier for the people providing instruction, whoever that is. But sometimes we're going to have to move people around.
I am a para and want to become a SPED teacher. Advice for how I can help my future students.
In the same way that you're helping them now, you identify and address their deficits. You identify and address their strengths, and we teach them skills on their deficits. We have one job in special education, that is to teach a child strategies to self-manage their disabilities so they can be ridiculously amazing adults.
I have to tell you, Brady says that your makeup looks wonderful.
Well, thank you.
The superintendent has tried to deny my son before care because he is considered special needs. Is that okay?
So before care and after care are not part of IDEA.
Can you tell a sub that a child has accommodations but not why they need the accommodation? For example, he's autistic, but I don't want to say why.
You don't want to say that he's autistic? I don't really understand. So, I mean, we don't need to know the why of accommodations. When Cindy gets accommodations, or Elena gets accommodations, or Bonnie gets accommodations, and she's in a class, her job is to implement them. It doesn't really matter why they need extra time. It doesn't matter why they need frequent breaks. It doesn't matter why we need to reduce their work. We just need to deliver it with fidelity.
Okay. Is it okay that AIS is on the IEP? I thought AIS was not a SPED service.
What is AIS?
That's a great question. Maybe they will let us know.
Yes.
Is the 2-day training the recorded ones on the website, or is it something that is upcoming?
Yes and no and yes. So the 2-day on demand is on demand. And I don't know what I was wearing that day, but I'm sure it's amazing. So you have that. It will make you so stinking ready to serve kiddos. It's great for anybody that sits at the IEP 504 table. And then we are working feverishly to get an in-person 2-day, but it might be in a different year. So.
Awesome. The district is saying we can have 2 different LREs on the IEP, small group and co-teaching. Is this true?
I would say, did you hit your head? Like, did you fall? There's, what? You down with LRE? Oh, you know me. What? Small group has nothing to do with LRE. So LRE is a mandate. It's a consideration that we educate students with disabilities to the maximum extent possible with their non-disabled peers. So small group really has nothing to do with that. Small group can be delivered by anybody.
Is it legal or just bad practice to have gifted and talented learners placed in special education classes?
No, I mean, children come in all sorts of packages and wrapping paper and shiny bows. So I served a child one time that ended up being the salutatorian, and she was in special ed. She had an area of need that required specially designed instruction.
If the school thinks my child should not have an IEP anymore, can they remove it without my permission?
They cannot remove it without notifying you that we're having an IEP meeting to discuss something.
Okay. The IEP says paper pencil testing and a human reader. The school says they are doing map testing on the computer.
So there's certain testing that isn't available by paper, but state testing absolutely is. There are some programs that don't have paper testing.
The SPED director refuses to evaluate students and tells parents it's not within their rights and will not tell them what they need.
Sounds like they need a press conference. Doesn't that what that sounds like, girls?
Absolutely.
I think we need to get in the minivan.
Yes. I know somebody who does them.
I know someone.
How does an IEP work in community college? Will they provide an aid for mobility needs?
So in college, you move to what we talked about earlier. So the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. You're going to go and meet with the disability office and let them know about your needs and what sort of applicable accommodations they can provide you.
I'm in South Carolina and we just got a 504 and they completely skipped the eval. The 504 is useless to him. What do I do?
Most 504s are useless. And I'm not wrong about that. I was wrong about the first husband, but I'm not wrong about that. There's no education happening in a 504. You probably need to get representation, but I would send an email. We do everything in writing. I'm greatly concerned that we didn't do an evaluation. And I think that if you have a 504, that you've certainly passed and you've triggered child fine. So we have advocates that can help you if you need help with records review, if you need help, crafting amazing emails to go out to leadership or representation. We have that. So you can just email us at advocate@specialeducationacademy.com.
Would you look over IEPs and give input and help educate teachers on how to improve?
Yeah, so we do records reviews for families, and then we also do professional development in school districts. So we wouldn't have a teacher meet with us and show her students' IEPs because that wouldn't be appropriate. We don't have a consent from the parent. But if you're a teacher and you have an IEP student, we can certainly give you a records review.
Who gets paid when state testing happens?
The state testing gremlins.
That's great. What is the SPED ratio in regular education classrooms for inclusion in Texas?
100 million. I don't know. Somebody said I look like Cardi B. I think I look exactly like her. What? It's hard to tell us apart. What is the ratio for SPED inclusion in Texas? You'd be hard pressed to find ratios. You could have a lot of SPED kiddos who have a very light need, and then you could have a room with just one SPED kiddo who needed 2 adults. So it just depends.
Okay. Do you have a recorded training for Gen Ed teachers to explain their duties when implementing an IEP?
Yeah, it's our 2-day intensive. You need to know about your duties because the duties are the same for special ed teachers and general ed teachers. You're both implementers, legal implementers on an IEP, and you're both charged with implementing the IEP, crafting the IEP, developing the IEP, evaluating the IEP, calculating the efficacy of their accommodations. So probably 2/3 of the people that we train are educators.
Absolutely. Can a parent request the school use specific curriculum for their student who is dyslexic?
No. I mean, you can, but the school is going to buy a dyslexia curriculum that is approved by their state.
Okay. What do we do if we do not have enough paras to support the number and needs of the kids?
I would reach out to your leader, your principal, and say, listen, could you take some money out of that football fund and get us some help? There's a little tiny district right near me, very, very near me. And I just saw a picture online and they're almost finished with their $59 million football field. They have one singular sensation and one high school. We got to get it together. The things that we love and idolize and adore, a lot more people are going to need to be able to read than throw a football.
Yes. Help. My initial eval request was on March 5th of 24 in writing to the principal. Now the SPED director said my request was not in their system.
So do you have a copy of that email? Were you sitting in a meeting with them? Did you get a copy of it? So once you've given the school written request for testing, they have 15 days to respond, 15 calendar days.
Awesome. What documentation can I ask for as proof that my child is receiving their social skills minutes?
Raw data collection sheet. Say it with me, RDC. You know with RDC, oh, you know me. So raw data collection sheets, what is that? That's when Elena goes and works with Billy and she collects data on a piece of paper, a cocktail napkin, the back of her hand. I don't really care because she'd have to photocopy the back of her hand. And then at some point, she's going to load that data into the computer software that you see. So I would just let them know that, we're going to be picking up the raw data collection sheets that you track the IP goals at the end of every grading period.
My autistic grandson was pushed down and kicked in the hall. He retaliated and got 5 days of in-school suspension. Your thoughts?
So I don't know the parameters around what happened. I'm so sorry that that happened. Hopefully we can rectify its inception and it won't happen again. Give me 2 seconds. My loom cube, it stopped. Hold on.
Oh no.
Oh no.
We need the loom.
The loom cube. Ask not for who this loom is for. There we go.
Highlights the boss.
Ta-da! Okay. Do you guys all have a loom cube? Do you know about the loom cube? I'm just going to show you 500,000 people. This is the loom cube. If you don't have one, you should get it. You should get it. Loom cube, L-U-M-E, and then however you spell cube. Who knows how they spell cube? Probably in Florida, it's with a Q.
Okay, next question. Is it okay for a student who has an IEP to physically hit a teacher in Alabama?
I like how you said, in Alabama. It's not okay for anybody to hit anybody. Say it with me. Duh. It's not okay to hit people. However, there are students that are dysregulated. General ed students, 504 students, special education students. Hopefully that's something that you can address. Hopefully that's something you can rectify. If you can't rectify it quickly, then you need to get an FBA, a functional behavior assessment, that will then give birth to a BIP, a behavior intervention plan. But it's never acceptable for anybody to hit anybody.
My 17-year-old has an IEP and he is a junior. He will be 18 next month. Do I need to get POA?
So I'm not giving you legal advice, okay? I am not telling you what to do, all right? Power of attorney has nothing to do with somebody becoming 18. So I'm a mediator in the family courts here in Houston. So it would be my recommendation if you were my client to seek and consider guardianship. That's the most protection. When they turn 18, I can't run in there and go, hey, I'm his advocate. Hey, I'm his mom. All of his rights convey to him. So it takes about 6 to 12 months to complete guardianship. It's good for 16 months. I'm not an attorney. I'm not giving you legal advice. But if you were my client, that would be my recommendation. That gives you the most legal protection for your child. There are 3 types of guardianship. Your person, your estate, or both. Your person is obviously that you need care. You need somebody to help you with the dishes and food and that sort of thing. Your estate is somebody leaves your kid $80,000. If you don't have guardianship, he could go to work and go, Mom, Bob is struggling to pay his bills, so I gave him the $80,000. And then combination is they need guardianship of their estate, meaning help with their finances and their person.
Oops. I'm sorry, I just lost my place.
Don't ever let that happen again, Elena. We're not going to put up with that.
Never again till next time. No, ma'am. I am a teacher. What do I need to tell my team at school to get a child evaluated for an IEP?
You need to write an email and say, hi, I'm the world's greatest teacher. This child is in my class. I suspect that he has a disability and needs special education and related service testing. And send the email.
When in the beginning of the year does ESE need to start pulling out the students?
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's when.
Yeah.
When school starts, school is started. Guess what there's not a grace period for? Medicine, intervention, care, education. So we start it.
Okay, and how does a school get away with putting a mainstream teacher in a special ed class? The teacher has no special education certification.
I don't know how they get away with it. They don't get away with it with me or any of our team members because we will file a state complaint or a federal complaint. There is no grace for special education. It is the most marginalized population in public school. It has been and continues to be. I am not unaware that we've not made a wonderful place for teachers to want to stay and work. And so we have teachers leaving the field. We don't have a teacher shortage. Not running low on teachers. We're running low on making an environment where teachers are celebrated, supported, and cared for. And so it's unfortunate, but when I file a federal complaint or I file a state complaint or one of my team members do, guess what happens? We get a special educator in there for that child.
And that's wonderful.
If my son is in speech since 11 months old and he's now 3, why is the school saying he might not qualify?
So, we did that question, but I'll answer it again because it's so good.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. So, I don't know why they would say that. I call it manipulation, fear, and manipulation. I don't like those things. So we make decisions based on one 4-letter word, data. So you qualified him in by testing and you qualify him out by testing.
Okay. Child has ADHD diagnosis already. Is a full evaluation required to write a 504 plan?
So whatever kid I have, I want them tested for special education and related services. Why? Because at the end of that testing, one of 3 things are going to occur. 1, you have a child that has a disability or characteristics but doesn't need any additional help in school. You have a child that has a disability and will have a 504 and need accommodations. Or 3, you have a child that has a disability and will need accommodations, goals, supports, and services under an individualized education plan. If you don't fully test, you don't know. I don't find 504s rarely ever appropriate for any of the kids that I serve. And when I say rarely, I mean like rarely.
We are in the process of getting an IEE, and the old IEP is in stay put. But the school wants to put something in place. Is this okay?
Something is in place. Stay put.
Stay put.
So I'd keep that stay put in its place. If you start moving things around, then you violated stay put. Don't do that. Wait, I gotta answer this question. Kayla Sippin, I like it. Why do you say that 504s are rarely appropriate for kids that I serve? Well, let's talk about that, Kayla. If they have a 504, they have what? They have an identified disability, right? We're not teaching them a skill. So if you have a disability, you need to learn a skill, right? And so 504s, in my experience in the last 28 years, end up being good teaching. And so there's no education around them. And you would be hard pressed for me to find a 504 where I couldn't say he needs education in this area. He needs education on initiation, sustaining, completing. He needs education on reading skills. He needs more than the general ed teacher. So I don't find that I'm literally in 28 years, I can tell you 5 kids that absolutely needed a 504. That's all that they needed. I had a little girl, her IQ was 136 and she was dyslexic. And so that's all she needed. She needed a 504 to access the dyslexia program, which is ridiculous that you need a 504 to get dyslexia, but that's a sermon for another day. But I've just served too many kids. You can't show me a 504 where I can't show you where you could provide specially designed instruction.
Okay. Is there supposed to be 2 adults on a special needs bus in Washington State?
I thought you were going to say in Alabama. So on a special needs bus, hopefully we have a driver. I'm hoping there's a driver. Hopefully it's not a Tesla bus. And then we need to have an aide, right? And that aide is helping support those kids, whether they're getting off the bus, keeping their hands to themselves, if they have medical protocols, but there's at least 2 individuals.
What is the academy?
It's life-changing. It's life-giving. So we train everybody that sits at the 504 IEP table to navigate and negotiate successful student outcomes. And we follow the federal law to the T. And we train on that every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Central. You must join us.
Absolutely. That is a must.
It's a must.
What proof does the school need to provide me to remove my son's one-to-one to a shared para?
So proof is always data. So what is the data that supports that? We have a one-on-one para, and the one-on-one para is not doing anything for him. He's working by himself. He's transitioning by himself. The para has to intervene 100 minutes a day, not 385 minutes a day. So the school needs to show me the data.
Wally wants you to know, thank you for doing what you do. Your information is so great and useful.
Oh, good. That's awesome. We love when we get it right for those kids.
Yes. Can you explain what you mean by hold a press conference? Literally.
Literally. So there are parents that want me to come where they is. Is that good English? That is not good English.
Absolutely.
I've obviously not had any dyslexia training. So they are having a legal, a battle, a concern, a contention, a problem that's pervasive in their district, county, or city. And they get me there, and then I provide a press conference. So we go live on all of our platforms, which is about 700,000 followers. We invite the press. We reach out to the local news stations which come. We make it open to the public, and then after that, we will read what's going on, the shenanigans that are going on, and then we open it up for questions. And you can know that, of course, I'll be wearing heels and pantyhose, which really is what you need for all successful press conferences. Correct, girls?
Correct.
Yes, ma'am.
110 degrees.
Even if you're in Alabama. I think we're about to go back to Florida, too. I think they just need another pop quiz. I don't think the first press conference was enough.
If my child needs more time to calm down, can the school tell me they have no one to allow her to do this?
So, I mean, we need to figure out, first of all, why is your child upset? And need to work on that. So calming down is a response, and I love that, right? But our job is to work on what is that antecedent? How did we get here? Were there clues that we're doing something to, exacerbate that condition? Certainly we want to give her a chance to calm down, collect her thoughts, collect herself. But calming down is a response. We want to also partner that with intervention ahead of time.
What are accommodation examples for a high school student with suspected dyslexia?
Well, if it's just suspected, they don't have accommodations. So the only way you get accommodations is you have a known disability and you have a 504, or you have a known disability and you have an IEP. So if you're in high school and you have dyslexia, I would probably recommend that we do reading intervention in more of a special ed setting than dyslexia. We don't have a lot of high schoolers working on the th sound or words and letters in isolation or phonemic awareness or decoding.
Can you elaborate more?
What was that word you say? She said, can I elaborate? Can you elaborate? Yeah.
I'll take the marbles out of my mouth this time. Can you elaborate more on the present levels that you are looking at during the IEP?
Yeah, so we actually have a training in Special Education Academy that you should go get. It's ridiculously amazing because everything rises and falls on the present levels. You either have amazing present levels or your present levels, as we would say in the King James, stinketh. And so when I see present levels and it says she reads this level, those aren't present levels. A present level should tell me who that child is, how their disability impacts them across settings. I should be able to pick up the present levels and look up in a class and go, oh, there's Billy, because we wrote pristine, prescriptive present levels.
What is your advice for SPED teachers burning out by doing what's best for kids?
So I think that, I think teachers lay down their lives for kids. It's the most bizarre thing that you take other people's children for the whole day. Like, I'm definitely sure that you're an angel from heaven. You have got to say something to your boss. I'm not your boss. Attorneys are not your bosses. Hearing officers are not your boss. You have to stand up for yourselves. And sometimes in schools, we don't make an environment where we let our employees speak their truth and support them. And I think that's part of the reason for burnout for teachers.
What can the district do to a parent who disagrees about a placement for a student who is a safety risk?
So when you get to disagreements, whether it's usually over goals, it's usually over services, it's usually over LRE, and it's usually over placement. So the school should present their data and the parents should present their data. If the parents don't want that placement, they would need to then present data that, contradicts the data from the school. If a child's a safety issue, they're a safety issue. There's no learning if a child's not safe. There's no learning. And so I understand that we have to have hard conversations and we have to make hard decisions. I probably have annually 2 or 3 kids that I serve that are at out-of-district placements. They are at behavioral schools. They are at psychiatric units. And that's hard, but those are the right places right now for them to receive their special education.
Can I request request new evaluations or assessments since my son is just starting high school?
So you can, we request new evaluations when we need them, right? If we need them, then we request new evaluations. If it's his triennial every 3 years, or you believe that there's another condition, disease, disorder in play, I would ask for new evaluations.
My child is not being given their service minutes. What should I do?
You should say, Dear Escuela, dear school, yo quiero el minutos. That was terrible, wasn't it? That's why, yeah, you wouldn't know I live in Texas. So it's come to my attention that my student is not receiving their minutes. Who is going to rectify that? And then let the school respond, right? And then based on their response, I will take next steps to either file with the state or file with the Office of Civil Rights. They're not negotiable.
What if a special ed teacher knows nothing about dyslexia and the child is not making any progress? Would training be required?
No. There's no requirement for a special ed teacher to know about dyslexia unless they were the special ed teacher of dyslexia. So we certainly hope that there's somebody in the school that can support them so that when they have that student in their class, they can address their reading deficits.
The elementary school isn't teaching science every day, but my student gets science minutes daily. What do we do?
So that's usually just a scheduling issue. Most elementary schools do science and social studies. They switch them out each day. So I would just address that with the school to get the paperwork correct.
Okay. Would you recommend a 504 or an IEP for a student with lupus?
I would never recommend a 504 as a starting place for anybody with a suspected or known disability, disorder, or disease. So depending on the lupus, the characteristics of the lupus and how it impacts the student, if you're missing school, if you're having to go to medical appointments, there's plenty of IEP goals that we could write around that.
The school is telling me I have to transport my special needs child for him to go on a field trip.
No, ma'am. No, or as we say in North Carolina, no, ma'am. No. Mm-mm.
Is that a no?
I'm going to go with no. Yeah.
I saw a bus driver and aide not want to help students and refuse them. Can I file a complaint as a para?
I certainly think you reach out to leadership and say it appears that this person is struggling with their responsibilities of their job.
Okay. Do students with IEPs need educational goals, or can they just have social, emotional, behavioral goals?
So they just have goals in the areas where they have deficits. So if you don't have any academic deficits, you wouldn't need an academic goal unless you are in a self-contained setting. So you might have intense behavior that requires a self-contained setting, and you could be at grade level academically, but once you're in a self-contained setting, you have to have academic goals. If you guys want to reach out to us or email us, it's advocate@specialeducationacademy.com. Or press conference. I'm just kidding. It's on. You know, I just can't stop, can I? I've been sitting here all day pretending to be an adult.
What do you do when the teacher doesn't want to set up the IEP to help educate her student?
Yeah, it looks like this is the wrong job for you, Buttercup. Buttercup. Heavy on the cup. Yeah. It's not a want, it's a federal requirement. So there's that.
Ooh. I'm a general ed teacher. What do we do if kids haven't been pulled out for their IEP services for like 3 weeks?
So again, I'd reach out to leadership. I'm concerned that maybe we've missed it in the system, but 3 of my kids in my class are not getting their special ed minutes.
Excellent. What are the starting steps for filing due process?
Well, you'd get an attorney. There are some states that allow advocates to represent you, but my first step would be for you to reach out to counsel and use that.
I need advice. Would a child with ASD who has had the same one-to-one para for the past 3 years benefit from a new para?
Yes, I would never, ever, 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 ever recommend that you have the same para more than one every year unless they are a communication partner. So we have kids that have communication devices, and we always get them a one-on-one communication partner because it's another language. But yeah, you want a different para because that's how life is, right? We don't want to set up learned dependency. And when you have the same para and the same child, it's very hard to tease out the data.
Okay. Can the school take my child's one-to-one if they need a substitute in another room?
No. This is not a buffet. Yeah.
Can you have one para serve as a one-on-one for 2 kids in the same room?
Well, if you're really bad at math. That's not even BOGO. What is that? Come on now. The stuff that we tell parents. Come on now.
A one-to-one is in a student's IEP. The SPED supervisors have been emailed, still no staff. What is the time frame? One.
Yesterday. Yet a day. Yeah, yesterday. So it looks like you're unable to provide my child a FAPE. Let's have a meeting to talk about a different educational model. It's amazing how people go, not a problem. But most people just don't say anything. We feel bad. And oh no. But guess what? Who's going to educate your child when they're 18 or 22? No one. No one's going to send you an I'm sorry letter. Nobody's going to call and say, hey, listen, we did an audit, Elena. We owe you 23 months of education. They're never going to call you again. You have to stand up and advocate for your child's mandated federal and state rights. It's a benefit of being a child that's identified with a disability that you are due a FAPE.
Are all kids supposed to get transportation home if they are on an IEP regardless?
No. Transportation is a related service under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, and you would have to qualify for that. So if you're a student that has a math calculation deficit, you probably don't need transportation. So I always talk about transportation as we want them to get there happy and go home happy. So if you have a physical need, a functional need, an emotional need, impulsivity need, you might need special ed transportation. But it's a related service under IDEA. Let me see if I can just put my little Anchor charger in here.
What happens after tonight's TikTok?
TikTok, you don't stop. Well, it actually stops. That's what happens. It's going to stop. But then we're all going to pivot over to Procedural Safeguard Power Pack. And we're going to start a series on procedural safeguards, all of the parents' legal rights. And those legal rights are all the things that you would ever file on. You don't want to miss it. So you can join the Academy for free for 15 days. You go to specialeducationacademy.com. You go to training and you fill out your information and your payment information. And you put in the coupon code TikTok Live in all caps, TikTok Live in all caps. And then you get 15 days access for free. We have hundreds and hundreds of hours archived on there in series. And we do a training every Tuesday night, and you don't want to miss it because leaders are learners.
My daughter is almost failing 3rd grade because of her ADHD. Can I just switch to an IEP?
Switch to an IEP from a 504?
It just says switch to it.
So I don't know that she necessarily needs an IEP. You could have all Fs and not need an IEP. You could have all A's and need an IEP. So an IEP is based on an identified deficit after we do robust formal testing in all 8 areas. What are those 8 areas? Let me tell you. Speech and language to include pragmatic, medical, physical, sociological, a cognitive evaluation, all 7 G's, achievement that includes all 5 areas, reading, writing, math, oral expression, listening comprehension, adaptive behavior, a full psychological evaluation to include any of the 3 eligibilities, functional behavior, and related.
That was great.
That was great. It's like I've said it before, and I'll say it again.
Say it again.
Yeah.
What do I do if The paras are building the IEP goals instead of the SPED teachers.
The paras are not allowed to build IEP goals. That's very known. Somebody said, how do I get help in Florida? Well, 2 of our young ladies that are on our team are Floridians. And we know all about the shenanigans that happen with the fast level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5. We love Floridians. They do need some help when they're outside of Disney World, though. So just reach out to us at advocate@specialeducationacademy.com.
My daughter has disruptive moods, dysregulation, anti-anxiety, depression. What should I ask for in an IEP?
To address the characteristics of her emotionality.
Are gen ed teachers legally responsible for students not being pulled for service?
If you're talking about special ed services, no, that they wouldn't have the ability to pull them for special ed services.
Would you please bring a press conference to Ocala, Florida when you come to Florida? They really need you.
Where's Ocala? Where is that, girls?
An hour north?
Is it near Winter Park?
And a bit further.
A bit further? I'm there.
A bit further.
I'm there. Yeah. Just call me. Call me. I love Florida. We just did a press conference in the Panhandle, Panama City, Florida. The airport is the size of a pack of gum. You go and rent your car and they're like, just take one. What? Just take one. There's no gate. You just drive off. I'm like, these are really trusting people in Florida. Now, they don't know how to drive. They drive with their foot on the brake. They really don't know how to drive in Florida. I'm like, go! Go. Yeah.
How much OT in speech is federally provided for a student on an IEP?
As much as they need, as much as appropriate. So you have to realize there's 3 different models, right? There's an educational model, there's a medical model, and a therapeutic model. They don't play nice together. So you might get a lot of that in private or therapeutic or medical. So in education, we're looking at an appropriate level to implement without over impacting the other areas, right? Because whatever related or instructional service I provide, then I'm going to lose time in those content areas. So usually this is not a set requirement, but usually when you're in elementary school, if you have a speech and language impairment, you're going to get speech twice a week. Junior high, once every other week. In high school, maybe once a grading period.
I'm a teacher and I have a student who needs a one-to-one and my district won't do it. What do I do?
You need to get the parent to contact an advocate.
Can a student receive minutes from a para if their IEP says support instruction?
Well, you can always receive support from a para once they have been delivered specially designed instruction by the special educator, and that para is supervised and under the watchful eye of the special educator.
Okay. Is college-bound math required for SPED kids to graduate?
College-bound math? Does that come with duct tape? You're just bound to the math. I'm allergic to math. I hope not. I don't know what that is. I know that students have to acquire their state's credits. So in Texas, everybody in Texas is going to get 22 credits, and then you can earn more depending on the kind of classes that you have.
What is the outcome for filing a state complaint?
Hammer time. No, so it depends. It depends on if you know how to file a state complaint. We have a training on how to file state complaints because believe me, I've filed more wrong that were dismissed than right. You are filing a legal grievance. Most parents and some advocates and some attorneys file an emotional complaint. That has nothing to do with the law. It's nothing to do with the law. So when you're filing a complaint, whether it's a due process or an interdistrict grievance or a state complaint or a mediation or an OCR complaint, you need to file under the procedural safeguards and guidelines that have been violated, right? So, when a police officer pulls you over and he asks you a question, what does he say? Just the facts, ma'am. Most people file a complaint like this, and the fact finder or the judge or the investigator can't even tell what you're complaining about. So there's great specificity in the laws that were broken under IDEA. Was there predetermination where you denied access to educational records, where you denied IEP team membership, where you denied meaningful participation in the IEP, and it goes on and on and on, which is a series that we're starting tonight. Procedural safeguards that protect two people. Who do the procedural safeguards protect? Not the school, the student with the disability, and the parents. So we'll see you there.
Okay. Can a child have an IEP and be in the gifted program?
He can have an IEP, be in the gifted program, and have a Mustang with a convertible top.
I love the convertible
The
top.
convertible top. In Florida.
Excellent. Would you recommend... Oh, no, we did that one. Hang on.
Yes, the coupon code is TikTok Live in all caps. One of our amazing partners will put that in there for you guys. TikTok Live is the coupon code. It's at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time every Tuesday. Thank you, Shannon, special education advocate extraordinaire, one of our amazing podnas.
That's why Tuesday is my favorite day of the week.
It should be, yeah.
Yes. My son was recently diagnosed with ADHD. Do I need to have a new meeting for it to be added to his IEP?
So we only add it to his IEP is if the characteristics of the ADHD rise to the level of needing specially designed instruction. But either way, you certainly want it to be added to his IEP as a medical condition, and then it might rise to the level of being an educational eligibility.
Okay. Why is TEA changing the name of emotionally disturbed to emotionally disability?
Because people don't like that name, and I couldn't be happier about it. More people in the last 48 and a half years have been talked out of the eligibility of emotional disturbed because people don't like the name. It's not Jack Nicholson in The Shining. It simply means that your emotions are not calibrated. So, hallelujah, it's now an emotional disability. And it simply means that your emotions are not calibrated and they impact your ability to access the general ed curriculum.
Someone wants to know, how can they contact you? Can they email you?
They can just call me at 1-800-SIZZLE. Oh, wait, that's for these gas prices. So you could just email us at advocate@specialeducationacademy.com. That's Sizzle phone number. I had to turn it off. It was too expensive.
What are your thoughts on AI writing IEP and administration encouraging this process?
I think it's a great idea to get a framework. I think so many people are such good educators or such good special educators or such good paras. And then we ask them to write an IEP goal and it's like we've, given them an electric shock. So if I can go chat GPT, crank me out some math calculation goals, it's going to give you a framework. And then we make that goal special for the student with the disability. So you want to make sure that the IEP goal is not simply a state standard, but there's special education in it. So what does that mean? I need first the IEP goal to say, after direct and explicit instruction, hello, not the word hello, but after direct and explicit instruction, Michael will, and what is that thing that he will, right, based upon an identified deficit in the present levels, and then where is he going to get in a time frame. So it's not that complicated. So I'm a fan of AI, huge fan. I should have used that for my first husband. Is this going to be a good idea? And AI would have said, what do you think?
I think we have time for one last question.
Okay.
Is it legal for a SPED teacher to have a cross-cat class and service resource students as well?
A cross-cat class? Was that there's cats in the class?
Cross-category class?
What is a cross-category class? We make the dumbest names. I'm sorry. You mean a class with children? What does that mean, Cindy? We have non-disabled and disabled children?
Throw them all in together.
Yeah. Can you do resource inside of a general ed classroom? Is that the question? No.
Yes.
Resource is a supplementary aid under 300.115 in the federal code, and it exists outside of the general ed classroom. Oh, thank you. Rachel Elizabeth said cross-cat is not general education. Thank you. What a great name, Rachel Elizabeth. I like it, Picasso. Okay.
Where should people go now?
People should go get some more hairspray, some more lipstick, some sort of snack, and then we'll see you at 8 o'clock in the academy. Remember, when you get it right for the child, we get it right for everybody. There's tons of training that we have. We have little trainings, medium trainings, big trainings. I would go over to the academy and see if any of those curriculum are beneficial to you. We have an amazing 5.5-hour training on how to file amazing, effective Office of Civil Rights federal complaints. We have an amazing filing training on how to file state complaints, because I want you to do it right. Because when you do it right, you will bring about change in your state. And that's what we want, so that our kids get served and have amazing outcomes. We'll see you guys in the next training.